Chapter 16. Responsibility. It only took a little time before I wanted to put the glasses back on. Why, when I raised the lens near my sight, I noticed a little bug on my thumb, and you'll never believe what I saw. In that bug lived God. Yes, that bug spoke to me, and I'll never be the same. The gospel of life is within all beings, disguised as a soul. After a little more time, I went on to inspect the nature of wickedness, as I wondered how we get rid of it. We are all sick of ignorance, but still, there on my thumb was the greatest source of creative living intelligence. This tiny specimen was a witness who took part in the earth existence. It too had its own unique experience, and in this moment, I found a way to slow down, smile, and acknowledge it. I bowed to the life in it when it fluttered its wings back. Oh, it was like it could speak without words, and through the magic sunglasses, I could hear it talk. And so I ask you, what would you say to God? God is within us, right in front of us, and even Shruti bowed in reverence. Oh, these glasses were magnificent, but I had to get them back. Oh God, but I can feel you here, and I want to stay with you now. But I feel as if I'm called for something, even though I don't know how. Oh, give us a sign. Can you show us how to live and what we must do? The bug flew away, and how long would we be apart? There was love in my core, and that's what I saw in it. But it didn't say anything about the parts of life that were treacherous, or how to overcome all the terrible wickedness. Be with it, I heard Clancy whisper telepathically. Oh, the glasses showed me where my intention was set. Why, the more I would allow space for ideas to rise, I would also find a nudge or direction from a place within us. Be with it. I heard Clancy speak, as if he was near us. Yes, there was a great intelligence to lead us. Then something in me got up and ran when I felt Nandi carry us. Why, there was an entire life within the Earth atmosphere, with so much mystery and synchronization to it. This awareness was something within us. But what was it that was driving all this consciousness? Out of the corner of the glasses, something caught my eye. Why, there nearby was a human man with stitches on his arm when I had to see if this was him. Well, of course this man was different than Clancy's comic friend, but in sight of the magic glasses, I caught him wink at me from afar. I lowered the magic lenses. When it appeared, he had yet to notice me. Then when I put the glasses back on, he waved me over to talk. It seemed these glasses spoke to the level of the soul. Nandi carried us off and away when I stood before this man with stitches on his arm. And even though I didn't understand, still I said, "Hey." He turned to walk away, but what was it about those stitches? "Hey, sir. You got a name?" "Beast," he said. "Sir Beast? Really?" Without another word, he held the door open and led me inside up a staircase. Before I could ask him anything else, he closed the door and walked away. Aha! But there was another man atop the staircase, and this one had stitches on his face. This guy's tongue dug into his lower lip as if to lick a treat. He spit in a cup and pointed with nothing to say. If silence was the key, then this was the way. At the end of the hall, there was a path to a secret alley, and from this view, it went on to lead underground. I didn't think this was a maze, but it could have been a labyrinth. Again, another man with stitches opened the next door, but his cut was stitched on his neck. Beyond him was a woman with stitches on her forehead, and before long, this path led under a deep, dark mothership. They seemed to speak in silence, or had they been under attack? Even though these glasses provided answers, I still did not know what to make of it. What's with the stitches? I wondered. There in the mothership, you'd never believe it, but we were at the central command of a secret operation of hidden intelligence. Then at the very bottom, I came face to face with two men, Clancy and that comic friend with the original stitches. It was the one dude who was famous, and I could hear him thinking, is fear a factor for you? Even though his lips never move. Fear? Time will tell. Say, I'm trying to go beyond time. Is this something you're interested in too? The truth is like a lion. You don't have to defend it. Let it loose, and it will defend itself, said the man with the stitches. And Clancy! Great to see you. I'm afraid these glasses make me question far more than I've uncovered. Can I trade back for the mystical notebook? Also, would you mind if I ask you some questions so I can learn some answers? Clancy handed me the golden notebook when my fears fell quiet as I took off the magic sight. Oh, right. Now I've got to live back in real life. Clancy smiled, but I couldn't hear his inner thoughts anymore. Then the famous man with the stitches held a smirk before he twisted his head and motioned me closer. I noticed a fresh cut on his neck, as he had even more stitches. Oh, what is with it? Now some joker from behind them came forth, as he too had stitches on his lip. Do you want to join the fun? He said. If you get in deep enough, you're bound to get cut. Blood in, blood out. And there's nothing you can do about it, said a random man in this underground mothership. As he led me back, I wasn't sure if he poked me with a knife. Hey, easy, dude, back up. Then he escorted me forward, but I didn't understand why. What's with all the stitches? It looks like your whole crew needs a hospital and healing. Not quite. Welcome to the Rock'em Sock'em cockfighting, said Clancy. What? At once, the main comedian with the stitches pulled a lever when a giant red curtain opened, and there down below was a small but tactical ring underneath the comedy club. All sorts of people with stitches waited on benches which surrounded the central pit, and it appeared that only a few brave souls dared to go in. A moment later, the original comic with the stitches disrobed until he was almost totally naked. Hold on, what's happening here? Welcome to the underground mothership, he said. This man was naked, except for a white sock on his cock, and then the sock was pulled between his legs, where his wiener appeared to be bent as it pressed up through his butt. Then a shoestring wrapped around his waist to keep the sock connected, and what happened next is nothing I would have ever expected. The comedians jumped in the ring, and there they were given various garlands and headdresses of animal skins or feathers. At first, there was only 2 who dared to enter, but then came a couple others. All of them wore the same sock over their dicks, so it was tucked between their legs, then up through their butt cracks. They began to yell and howl like wild animals when these crazed comedians started to shout. A giant gong was hit when cannabis smoke poured down through the vents as the comedians in the ring pulled razor blades out. Your mama is so fat that when she went to the beach, a whale swam up to her and started singing. We are family, said a comedian as he slashed his razor blade against one of the men in the ring. His opponent began to bleed from the pain, and so the man who was slashed held up his razor and yelled to his attacker, Yo mama is so ugly that when she tried to join the ugly contest, the judges said, no professionals, and so he slashed the man right back. Both men dripped with blood, and so the fight continued. But now a new man raised his razor blade and expressed, Yo mama is so fat that when God said let there be light, your mother had to move out the way. And so he slashed another man who began to bleed. Over and over, the humiliation and insults were thrown around as each man or woman was cut while fresh blood poured out. Yo mama is so hairy that when she went to the movies to see Star Wars, everyone screamed, "It's Chewbacca!" said a man as he cut his opponent. Right as that man was slashed, it seemed he could take no more. He fell to his knees from the loss of blood, and as he panted, someone in the crowd yelled, "Finish him!" And so the owner of the mothership came forth and began a ritual dance around the poor man as he looked up in horror. Your mama is so ugly that even Hello Kitty said goodbye, yelled the original comic. And with that, instead of raising his razor blade, the comic cut a shoestring around his waist while the sock holding his cock dropped. The man on his hands and knees was horrified when the comedian screeched like a banshee and began swirling his dick in a circular motion. Just as his penis rotated as fast as it could, he jumped forward with his hips flying before he cock-slapped him right across the face. Oh, it was such a disgrace. The poor man was horrified, and now he had an imprint of the other man's dick across his eyes. The ref jumped in and began to smack the ground. 1, 2, 3, he's out! After that, I couldn't watch for another moment. I turned around in shock of what I'd seen, but first, I checked my eyes. Well, but that really happened, and the whole underground aspect of the comedy club was somewhat maddening. Right as I turned to leave, one of the men with stitches on his hands grabbed me. Believe me, you want to be with him rather than without. Otherwise, the mothership wouldn't exist. We all owe him for part of our success. Sometimes getting stitches makes you appreciate the rest of the Earth Circus's bullshit, said the man. Ah! Get me out of here! One after the other, they led me out, through twists and turns, until I was properly confused. When I got back to the streets, I couldn't imagine how far underground we'd gone through all those deep layers. When there was no one left to escort me, I found myself alone when I opened the notebook as a rhythm rattled my heart. O'Clancy had written for a good bit, but there were plenty of pages left. Of course the past is gone, and now this was a time for a new sentence. There were so many pages as I looked to Shruti, Nandi, and Kundalini for guidance, and so I wrote, "May we surrender to the discovery of higher wisdom and let go of everything that separates us from one another. May we find the courage to unite together and leave behind everything that covers us from the light of love that lives within all others." Then from the streets, we ran to find some solitude where we could gaze beyond the stars. A deep intelligence was out there and in here, which I was certain other beings could watch, listen, and observe from oh so far. Now who were they, and why were they so interested in a human birth? How many souls had come to visit and walk upon the same earth?
Remember the staircase? Not all the magi are wise. Just because you meet a magi doesn't mean they have understood the true purpose of our lives. Those who wander in the imagination, those who craft their unique reality, they may carry darkness, or they may hold the light upward, and so we should remember, we mustn't accept or even judge their good or bad qualities, but rather, the best magi stand in total unity. We are all covered by many layers, but do not let those layers hold you back. O Surya, you are the light of the universe. Just be as you are, and it will all happen for us. We are guided by that light, so embrace our true nature. Some magi will claim they hold the divine instructions alone, but they can never walk the path for you. We must take responsibility for our actions, so don't go looking for another magi's guidance or for a handout. Study the lessons and observe the ones who have come before us. May we see how all life is our teachers and everything is a teaching. You don't need magic sunglasses to realize the light in everything and everyone, because you also radiate the light of harmony and peace throughout the world. Don't think that greatness is outside of you, for the light within you is pure divinity, and this is the light within all of us,
said Shruti.
Aditra Pradayam Punyam Sarshrachu Vinashanam. All evil vanishes from life for him or her who keeps the sun in their heart,
said Nandi. And so the inspiration behind the next line in the notebook was written as it said, all evil vanishes from life for him or her who keeps the sun in their heart.
Just remember, magi can choose to be nasty or nice, delusional or wise, but still, the magi are not free, as they too are bound by the limits of time. There is only one thing that goes beyond form and the material world. This is the nature of our spiritual soul. Even while a magi might live in a human body, a tree, or a tiger, we all coexist in time, knowing that we were born for some deep goal to unite with each other. Life is worth living, but these days, many magi have fallen into the traps of greed, pride, ego absorption, and ambition. This becomes a sort of sickness. It becomes a resistance to that which is good in us. I have also known great magi who gave up themselves for the sake of our spiritual goodness. And so, whenever I assume the form of a great dragon, know that it is our spirit who I am protecting. The world is infected by a sickness, and it's led us to regress from our spiritual nature. Arise, awake, stop not until the goal is reached,
said Shruti. As Shruti picked up a bird's feather, she placed it behind her hair, while I wondered if she was the great unseen spirit that could speak to us or through us, which came from distant galaxies. We took some silence, and after a little time, I could hear someone whisper. My eyes searched between the birds where the feather had come from, but I only found distant stars hanging from the universe.
This feather belonged to an eagle, and the eagle is a mystical bird and the symbol of the sun, sky, and the soul. The eagle arises as a messenger of spiritual knowledge. Eagle is also held as a representation of higher authority, heroic nobility, and power. Many cultures honor eagle feathers in sacred ceremony. Air is the main element of the eagle, representing the realm of higher mind and inspiration. Eagles possess incredibly keen vision and are among the longest living birds. We can change our vibration and perspective at any moment. This is our free will, and it is important to notice what you observe from all perspectives, because when you focus on anything, you'll find that you can view it from the higher planes like this, or within the middle or lower worlds. Use a keen vantage point to bring new vision into your life. Hold on as she takes you to the highest point yet. Know that the divine energy of the Great Spirit watches over the eagle and you as well,
said the unseen voice. And so we wrote another line in the mystical notebook. Don't try to control life. Trust in magic and miracles. We imagine that wonderful things are happening. In time, the great sun would glow above the horizon, but in time, it would become dark again.
Surya, it's coming to fruition,
said Shruti as she bowed to the ground. We sat for hours until the sun came to illuminate us who were ready. We felt chosen by the sun's light, and everywhere we went, I wondered who among us were connected to the Magi's secret society. Was it we who were ready to become wise leaders? And where were the Magi that had overcome their demon heads? For some of them swore to protect the divine table atop the celestial staircase, but had some caught a glance of it and changed, or wanted the glory for themselves instead? So who will rise above the rest? And what rises from the dead? Where would the soul go after this? And so I believe a real Magi must live life in loving service. Now I heard it. This was that which was heard. Shruti began to breathe when I pumped her wooden instrument with air when a resounding rhythm surged. She revealed only a single note on the harmonium, which called out to the kindred souls from the distant church, mosques, and temples. She sang to God in the streets, and there were a few others who followed on by this example. Within all these great people was that ancient teacher, and within each heart was our eternal fire. The light of God was not apart from us, it was within us. Many had been covered by layers of filth to conceal it, yet by our world's actions, this light still has a chance to spread out through the furthest dimensions. Each of us have our part, a duty and a choice. We are called for the experience, the journey, and the discovery to make something from this gift of life. We are souls together upon a journey, although we have since forgotten. Magi appear to some, while demon heads work to control the masses, but our hearts are the real teachers while the soul reaches to infinity. I'd met many demon heads who wanted to control the planet. Hell, they may have wanted control over the galaxy, but at the core, we were all light living within bodies, within humanity, confined in this reality. Together we can get out, but if we remain separate, we will destroy ourselves. However we navigate our actions says everything, and as there may be secrets unknown, I know there are beings called to uncover the truth who walk as Magi and are living as earthlings.
We who are in service are together. We are called to unite, but do not become fooled by the ones who walk upon the earth and are disguised as Magi. Not all Magi are selfless. Some think only for their own self. They could use us, manipulate us, or bring us right to the deceiver for his own personal use,
said Shruti. Who are the Magi, and what is their purpose?
We are all portals. Each person, to some degree, is like a secret door, but many are closed, concealed, or covered. Yet the most sacred Magi are those who understand the nature of our purpose is to transform. Every Magi emits an invisible light, which signals their present state. And the only way to change this is to understand our motive and intention, which can change the way our inner wavelength resonates. We change. That is the nature of life and death. But we have a choice as to how we will meet each moment, and that is the freedom we all get. Some Magi transform for the better. Some transform to the most selfish degrees. Some people resist the transformation altogether. But only those who transform selflessly can become free. We are called to transform because we are led by something that is not bound to this world. As Magi, we generate and emit a certain presence, and so we must take responsibility, as you and I are the result of our actions. Let us be careful not to succumb to the demonic ways of selfishness, for that sickness is contagious,
said Shruti. The closer I got to her, the more a mantra within began to resonate. The light from our heart space began to peak, and what was the mind saying? Arise, awake, stop not until the goal is reached. It happened again and again on repeat, when I held a pen in hand and began to scribble. Arise, awake, stop not until the goal is reached. Peering back through the mystical notebook, I read, May we surrender to that discovery of higher wisdom and let go of everything that separates us from one another. May we find the courage to unite together and leave behind everything that covers us from the light of love that lives within all others.
So, it is the time to let go of that which makes us separate. The time has come for fruition. This change is good, but many will resist it. You know, Rumi once said, Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built up against it. It is time for our world to let go.
Shruti paused.
What do you propose is going to happen?
Asked Nandi.
When it comes to fruition, it often happens more rapidly than expected,
Said Shruti. What will happen?
Soon word will spread, and the demon heads will target the Magi and pin one man as a fugitive. The horde of demonic gossip will reveal that you are the person they are after. The deceiver will recruit armies and new leadership, and if it gets bad enough, they'll release the worst convicts and felons from the prisons to increase the deception of a misguided conspiracy. Such a mob mentality will then lead to mass hysteria. The people will think they fight against a satanic cult, but what they don't understand is that they're being led forth by the deceiver's barbarians, who are the cult. We have to come together, yet we cannot force anyone to change their ways. It could be hellish for all of us, but Surya, you carry the same light of truth that glows from the sun's rays. Burn with the light, because you are it. Do not be dismayed,
Said Shruti. It wasn't difficult to understand the nature of the demon heads, especially when I used to be one of them. But I hated to imagine all the rumors that were spread. Whenever anything went wrong in the world, the demon heads would target the Magi or anyone else who were pure in heart. And as time would tell, in their inner groups, chats, and message channels, the demon heads spread chaos, anger, and hatred across their news platforms. They were not after the truth, but rather the demon heads were ruthless as they wanted dominion of their opinion across the entire earth. Oh, our poor world appeared to be disconnected, or cut off from the divine table in the cosmos up high. On earth we were bound by guns, missiles, armies, terrorist attacks, school shootings, and all the other ways ignorance would find ways to terrorize. Of course, a shift was evident when a Nazi rally sprouted up in the city, as if to signal for power of hidden leadership and authority. And the worst part about it is how much more we were separated by it. Hatred grew out to divide us. And was this the deceiver's doing? Oh, what happened to unity? What happened to love and peace for everyone? The deceiver was a great businessman, and he had all sorts of plans. It didn't take long before the demon heads spread rumors of how the Prince of Darkness was possessed and wanted to destroy everyone. It didn't matter what was factual or imaginary anymore. No one knew what to believe. And whenever anything bad happened, the demon heads started to point their fingers at one man, and that man was you and me. But how do they even know who we are? The more the demon head spread lies, the more Shruti would spread our light. At night, she would transform into a great dragon in hopes the fire of wisdom would help all beings unite. The next morning when I woke up, such confusion had come forth through the world as a sort of a mad illusion. But still the demon heads didn't understand the depths of our real transformation which was happening. Our world was governed by madmen, and as the demon heads pointed fingers upon a man they presumed to be the Prince of Darkness, this all represented their own sickness, and there wasn't a hospital big enough to cure this.
Although the demon heads are possessed by the sickness of ignorance, there is only one thing we can do about it. We must expand our own spirit,
said Shruti. But why can't the demon heads remember how we are all connected into humanity? This means we are all one. Instead of seeing our unity and living in harmony, the demon heads create an imaginary enemy. Of course, everyone wants to blame someone, but this isn't helping. All this fear that grows out from the deceiver pushes even more demon heads into power, and now it seemed they had resources to buy many weapons. It seemed the demon heads would rather kill others to save their opinions instead of being open to unity or having compassion for our entire human nature.
We all did this. We all have to take responsibility together. Blaming someone besides ourselves won't work. It's up to us to come together and take positive action,
said Nandi. I took out my notebook and wrote in permanent marker, "It's time. Next comes fruition."
We have to love them. Love everyone. The world is under such enormous pressure, and this signifies that the result of our past actions is catching up to everyone else too. As a world, we are responsible for all our past actions, and this is our world's truth. We have all come here for our mission. But what is it that we are missing? When we act from a place of fear, we feel we are fighting against some opposition, and so we create even more resistance. No one wants to imagine losing what they have. And so, is it the fear of it getting taken away that leads us to blame others? Our world lives in a prison of suffering, which seems to rule over the human condition, and I pray we realize the wisdom of divine union. As soon as we surrender, it will happen. For now, we must be disciplined as it all comes to fruition,
said Nandi. Should we be afraid that the demon heads imagine us to be the Prince of Darkness?
Do not fear such ignorance. Such a name is their own reflection as they gaze upon the mirror of infinity, where they forget they gaze upon their own arrogance. When we cannot accommodate our opposition, we become it. The fear that one projects onto the world are the same fears that one alone embodies, and he or she who knows not that the Prince of Darkness is the other face of the Prince of Light knows not me,
said Shruti. As the demon head's command was reorganized, the deceiver began running for total leadership as he was summoned to be the leader of a political party. With so much fear in the world, I felt that even the Magi were at risk as some were tricked to join the deceiver's army. But how could this happen? It seems that the deceiver and the demon heads are getting stronger. Oh, what hope is left for humanity?
Many Magi have lost hope in God and turned to go worship materialism. They have sold out for fame and money, while others offer their gifts and talents to ease suffering by means such as writing, teaching, or even arise as humble comedians. The greatest among us have touched the source of wisdom, and as they turn to God, they go away from selfishness, while others use what they have learned for their own personal benefit. To become a Magi means one becomes powerful, but so often, such Magi are misled to forget our great mission. It pains me to admit that some of the greatest Magi forget they wear the demon head and go on to become presidents or rulers who wear selfish covers as they turn away from our spiritual nature in the pursuit of more wealth and power. Such people were once Magi's, but now they only obey their demon nature. These beings are the deceiver's closest companions, and so they are the most dangerous. They care little for the welfare of this world, and they prefer to live in their own selfish orbit. They may act like Magi, since they live in their imaginations, but instead of helping to dismantle oppression, they imagine only how their actions will benefit their fellow friends and families, while they blame and seek to destroy their so-called opposition and enemies. The demon heads will draw in millions of followers by creating traps, tricking common people to listen to them, while only the brave will illuminate the true teachings. Who are wise among us? Do not listen to the demon heads, who seek to push their opinions and beliefs upon others. The way we cultivate fruition is through divine grace, and so we are called to love others and be open to everything,
said Shruti. So even as the demon heads crave dominion, it is our light that reaches into others, which can give birth to more pure Magi. There are still the Magi who have turned away from the demon heads, but still I am curious, if we open and surrender, will the demon heads conquer us?
One thing about the demon nature is that it has an obsession with being popular. This whole game only makes them more miserable and upset. The demon horde lives life as if it were a race to create as much attention for the least amount of merit. Yet, on the other hand, it is the angelic who are selfless. So let us surrender to union. Now it is time for us to open to the magic of fruition,
said Shruti. And as for the Magi who are pure in spirit, I feel as if we are called to be guardians of this flame, through which wisdom opens. Still, it pains me to see such great potential lost in the deceiver's own selfish interests.
If you want to help the pure in spirit, we must transcend that which separates us. We have to be open to unconditional love. We can heal the division in our world, but it begins by healing the division within our own nature. Then by your healed presence, even without words, we share our life as an example for others. Our individual presence helps others grow. Just the sight of a human flame in darkness can guide many out of suffering, and so a humble Magi inspires others to think deeply. Be not simply good, but be great for something,
said Shruti. With all the commotion, I had an intuitive feeling we were being followed, and then out of nowhere, a large crowd appeared. Who among these people worked for the demon heads? I sensed they had come to recruit more people into their organization when a politician spoke out against the nature of the deep state and how the past organization led with fear. It was so bizarre because although his words were positive, I sensed he did this for attention. Oh, was he one of the deceiver's hidden henchmen? It seems the deceiver is recruiting new leadership. What's with this third-party politician? I wondered. There in front of us rose up a man who called himself the third-party politician. But in my intuition, I knew how the deceiver loves to mislead everyone.
I do not agree with the deceiver, and I will not join him, nor will I support him as he runs to be president,
said the third-party politician. He was not on the left, but he was not on the right, and he even spoke a message against the demon heads, yet he had separated himself from everyone else. He said that he was going to do it, and he alone knew what to do. He said we should pick him as a ruler, and so my suspicion grew. But what were we to do? He seemed a little better than the regular old demon heads, but I couldn't tell if any of this was true. I sensed his political rhetoric was set up to happen right in front of me, but I couldn't tell if it was real or imaginary. Once the third party's political speech ended, everyone gathered closer as this man accepted pictures. Curious in nature, I got a little closer. My goal was to get Shruti near him to see if we could trust him. And right as I got beside him for a picture, I stared into his eyes when his sight darted away as I suspected he had a hidden motive. As soon as we stood beside him for that moment, the bodyguard ripped away my notebook. The camera flashed, but the mystical notebook vanished. A different bodyguard led me away from the third-party politician, but they wouldn't let me back in as they'd taken the mystical notebook away within the confusion. I had no power or authority to push past his guards, but they had taken something that was so sacred and pivotal. Then I heard the deceiver laugh as he whispered from his tower,
What a fool!
Without the mystical notebook in my possession, news broke on the internet that this so-called third-party politician would go on to join the deceiver's organization. It was the opposite of what he said. Oh, was the world aware that he lied to the public? And now he had become aligned with the demon heads. And soon after all of this, that same third-party politician appeared on the famous comedian's podcast. Stitches? Yes, it appeared they were all in this together, and they'd stolen the mystical notebook that would bring it into fruition. Broken on the inside, I could not fathom that our mystical notebook had been stolen.